The morning was a hot mess. All right, so all right, so talk to me about the sinking of the USS Maine. Fernanda and Samson, you guys were both here last time, right? So Fernanda, can you tell me what happened? Why is this important?
Because yellow journalism.
Ah, okay. Yellow journalism. What is yellow journalism? Zarin, you can start your notes. You can start your notes on this right now. HIJ. This is big number. This would be under J, letter J.
Okay.
So yellow journalism and the sinking of the USS Maine. So you can pick up what Fernanda and Sam are going to tell you. All right, Fernanda, can you define yellow journalism for us?
Yeah, when newspaper spread emotional story, to get people to buy them. So it's like fake news.
Basically, yeah. It's newspapers spreading emotional stories. Do you guys remember what the emotions that the newspapers are trying to get?
Spanish are savages. They blew up our ship, when really it was just bad making of the ship.
Well, that's the other thing. What's the emotions that the newspapers are trying to get? Are they trying to make
anger?
Fear
right?
and anger. Yeah, fear and anger. The newspapers figured out that fear and anger sells a lot of newspapers. And so they want to make everyone as scared and angry as possible, right? Love doesn't buy newspapers, right? If you feel love, you go buy flowers. If you feel anger, you go buy newspapers, right? Or you go buy like, love, you go buy like chocolates or something like that, right? Okay, so Sam, you started telling us what happened with the USS Maine. What does everyone in America think happened to the USS Maine?
The Spanish bombed it.
The evil Spanish bombed our ship. Yes. What actually happened at the USS Maine?
They kept all their ammunition next to the engine rooms, and it got too hot, and so the ammunition went off.
Wah wah.
No way.
Yeah.
The news literally lied about what happened.
Yep. 100%. Yep. 100%. The news lied about it, and all the newspapers across the entire country, they all said the evil Spanish sunk our ship. And when in actuality, Sam was absolutely correct. It was an engine problem. The boiler in the engine got too hot and it blew up the shells. Wah, wah. Yeah.
How did we ever find out the truth?
So we found out the truth. Did we talk about that? Sam, Fernanda, did you guys have that question last time? Okay.
No, we didn't talk about that.
Smart questions, Aaron. So we found out the truth because the Navy almost blew up other ships as well, right? The other ships, it just happened to be that a sailor walked down and he was like, wow, this room's really hot. And he picked up one of the shells and it burned his hands. And he's like, holy crap. And then he calls up and they turn off the engine. And then they moved all the shells to the other side of the ship, right? The Navy actually had another ship blow up with the same problem, but it sunk in the middle of the ocean and they never found out why. Yeah. They figured out that the same problem happened in other ships. And then they went back and they're like, oh. Eventually what happened is scuba divers went down into the harbor and found the wreckage of the USS Maine and found that it was the boiler that blew up. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They figured it out about 10 years later, 10 or 15 years later. But by then it was too late because the war was long over by then. All right. All right, let's go to big number K. Big number K. K stands for the Spanish-American War. Big number K stands for the Spanish-American War. Okay, so underneath there, your first bullet point, I want you to put in quotes, a splendid little war. Splendid little war. It's a quote from Teddy Roosevelt. This is where Teddy Roosevelt's going to become famous. It's a quote from Teddy Roosevelt where he says, it was just a splendid little war where America got to just get out and stretch its legs a little bit, kill some Spanish. Everything's looking good. Look at the dates on this. Here are the dates for the war from April to August, right? That is not a long war. That's a really short war, right? So in only 4 months, the United States is able to destroy the entire Spanish Empire. USA, USA.
That's quicker than COVID.
Wah, wah. Yeah. Killed a lot fewer people than COVID too. Yeah. All right. So in your notes, you could put the dates on here. And you could say, USA destroys the entire Spanish Empire in 4 months. 4 months. Or as they say in Spanish, cuatro meses? Menses? Something like that. I don't know. I don't speak Spanish. I got cuatro, so I get half credit. All right, so so the United States invades the Spanish Empire. We destroy the Spanish Empire so fast that parts of the empire don't even know they're at war, and we've already taken them over. Yeah, it's pretty quick. One of the things that I like to stand out about this war is the use of what they called immune regiments. Immune regiments. Okay, a regiment is like a group of soldiers, so it'd be like 1,000 soldiers, right? So an immune regiment is a black unit. Okay, it was all black soldiers, and they had this belief that black people couldn't get yellow fever or typhoid. Yellow fever or typhoid. Do you guys know how to spell typhoid? Do you want me to spell it for you? I'll spell it in the chat room. Okay, typhoid. So typhoid and yellow fever are they're two like tropical diseases where you get sick and you vomit all the time and you have like super diarrhea until you start like diarrheaing out your organs, essentially. You like poop out your own intestines. Yeah, it's really great. It's awesome. And then you die. So the white army, the US Army thought that black people couldn't get these diseases. And so they start the American tradition of sending black people into the war first before you send in the white people. Most of these immune regiments died of typhoid and yellow fever because, as it turns out, skin color doesn't protect you from disease. Yeah, as it turns out. Yeah, I know, Sam, I know you're shocked by this, but it's really important.
Very.
It's really important to me that you understand that skin color doesn't protect you from disease. And I think that's a really important thing to understand. Yeah, as it turns out, black people died the same way that everyone else dies. Yeah. So yeah, the war, so in your notes, let's put, make 2 columns, okay? Make 2 columns. We're gonna have it be the, on the left side, we're gonna call it the Caribbean, right here. On the left side, we'll call it the Caribbean. And on the right side, I want you to call it the Pacific. Pacific. So on the left side, it's the Caribbean, and on the right side, it's the Pacific. What we'll do is we'll go down the 2 columns here, okay? Because the war is fought on 2 different fronts. The United States attacked Spain in 2 different places, okay? So let's deal with the right side first, okay? Let's deal with the Pacific first, okay? So in the Pacific, the United States attacks the Philippines. Philippines, okay? The Philippines is the biggest battle, and the Philippines is the biggest battle. The Philippines is a pretty big island chain off the coast of, this is on this map here, this is China right here. So it's pretty close to China, okay? And it's a big island chain. Today it has like 90 million people. And it's a big island chain that the Spanish had conquered, and the United States attacks the Philippines. When the Filipinos, the people who live here, when the Filipinos hear that the United States is coming, they rise in rebellion against the Spanish. They take up their arms and they say, hooray, the Americans are coming, they're gonna save us. They're gonna lift us out of, they're gonna save us and they're gonna lift us out. And so they rise in rebellion, and they actually do a lot of the fighting, right? So what you want in the Philippines is you wanna say, the locals rise in rebellion, and then underneath that, the locals, the Filipinos, do about 2/3 of the fighting. Americans do about 1/3 of the fighting. Okay, now I'm going to give you a bunch of other locations here in the chat room. Okay, during this time period, the United States also takes over a bunch of other islands. We take over Guam, we take over the Marianas Islands, the Marshall Islands. Oh, that's supposed to say islands. We take over Kiribati. And we take over Samoa, Palau, and Micronesia. Okay, we take over all of those islands. All of them used to be Spanish or not. Some of them were independent, some of them were Spanish. We just took them all. Our Navy ships just started taking every island we could find, and we just took them all. This is also where we officially take Hawaii. Okay, it's where we officially take Hawaii. Now, Zarin wasn't here for Hawaii, so Fernanda, can you help fill him in? When did we actually take over Hawaii?
When did we take over Hawaii?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't it in 1893?
Yeah. Okay, so we take it over in 1892, I thought it was. Is that right? 1893.
It says
okay.
1893.
Yeah, okay. 1893, that's fine. All right, so we take it over in 1893, but did we like officially take it over, or what's going on with that, Fernanda?
It was like Washington didn't want to like take over Hawaii, but the Navy and was it John Stevens?
John Stevens.
Yeah. Who he just kind of like took it over with the Navy and just sent a bunch of soldiers.
Yeah, it was pretty screwed up. It was a pretty screwed up thing. Basically, the American businesses decided that they wanted to take over Hawaii, and so they tricked the Navy into invading Hawaii. And then Washington, D.C., what did Washington, D.C. do when they found out? Sam or Fernanda, either of you. Did Washington, D.C. say, good job, Navy, thank you for Hawaii?
No, they made the Committee of Public Safety.
Yeah, they tried to give Hawaii back, right? But they just kept on occupying it. We ended up with this weird case where we had taken over Hawaii, we locked the Queen into the palace, we occupied it, we owned Hawaii for 6 years before the government recognized that we actually did. The Spanish-American War is where the U.S. basically just says, nah, we've already got it, let's just keep it. Against the Hawaiians' wishes. All right, so let's go to the Atlantic. This is where the big fighting was, okay? On the big fighting here, right, Cuba is right next door to Florida, right? So this is where we're gonna get the invasion of Cuba and the invasion of Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico and Cuba. So we invade both of these places, and we invade really, really quick, right? Because America's right here, right? We're able to get ships there like fast. We're able to get like a dozen ships there before the Spanish are even able to get one, right? Because the Spanish have to cross the entire ocean. We're there in like, we can get our ships there in like 4 hours. So we invade real quick, really early. And we take over Cuba, and then we come over here and we take over Puerto Rico as well. Okay. One of the battles that really stands out here is called the Battle of San Juan Hill. Okay, so you could put important battle, the Battle of San Juan Hill. Okay, the Battle of San Juan Hill is where Teddy Roosevelt becomes famous. Here's our painting of Teddy Roosevelt riding his horse up here. Okay, Teddy Roosevelt's a weird dude. He's kind of a nut. He's kind of a crazy dude. So Teddy Roosevelt at this point in time was the Secretary of the Navy. And when the war broke out, Teddy quits his job because he wants to be a soldier. He quits his job because he wants to be a soldier. He goes to Texas. He recruits a unit called the Rough Riders, and they all train on how to like ride horses and shoot guns and stuff, right? And they train out in Texas, in the Texas wilderness, and then they hop on a boat and they go to Cuba to go fight, right? And Teddy basically tells the army, he says, hey, army, I'm gonna make my own unit and bring it over. And the army's like, okay. The army basically is like, all right, Teddy, you do what you wanna do, man, right? So these guys like aren't soldiers, but they're kind of soldiers. Like the army just said, yeah, okay, that's fine. But they're like, they don't have uniforms. They have like uniforms that Teddy gave them. Like, I'm telling you, he's kind of a nut. He's kind of a nut. Anyway, so they arrive in Cuba and they storm the Battle of San Juan Hill and they kill all the evil Spanish to liberate the Cubans. The problem is, what do you think the problem is? You guys have already know what's going on in this time period with yellow journalism. What do you think the problem is going to be?
The Cubans are uprising and the Cubans are trying to overthrow the America.
No. The problem is Teddy wasn't there. It's a lie. Again, he wasn't there. The Battle of San Juan Hill happened while Teddy was still on the ship. Teddy and his men were all on the ship. The Rough Riders didn't even fight. They weren't there. He gets there the day after the battle ended, and he rides up and he's like, oh, congratulations, boys. You did such a great job. And he takes his arms around them and he takes pictures with them and stuff, right? But the newspapers want Teddy to be the star. And so the newspapers cut all the other guys out of the pictures and publish the pictures of Teddy on the hill, right? And then the newspapers come back and they tell the army, they say, we need you to give us pictures of Teddy Roosevelt fighting. And the army comes back and they say, we can't do that because he wasn't there. He didn't fight. And so the newspapers pay people to draw Teddy fighting and to paint pictures of Teddy fighting. And that's what they published instead. Teddy was not at the Battle of San Juan Hill. Teddy arrived the next day. In fact, the unit that actually did the most fighting on Battle of San Juan Hill was one of those immune regiments. It was a black unit. And of course, they didn't get any credit for it. Yeah, Teddy actually like tries to correct people for a while. Newspapers are trying to like interview him and they're trying to say like, how did the Battle of San Juan Hill go? And Teddy's like, I don't know, you're gonna have to ask the people who fought it. Like he fights, he resists this for a while, but eventually he just stops because so many newspapers are publishing it all the time that he just can't deny it anymore. He's just like, okay, whatever. So ironically, Teddy comes out of this war as the greatest hero of the war, and he didn't actually fight in the greatest battle he gets credit for. Yeah. Welcome to the Spanish-American War, guys. Okay? So why is the Spanish-American War important? Your next line down, give me a bullet point and say, why is the Spanish-American War important? Okay, and we have three bullets that we're gonna do here, 1, 2, 3. All right, so number one, the Spanish-American War is important because it destroys the Spanish Empire. So at this point in time, Spain is really, really weak. It's really weak. Spain used to be super, super tough. Spain used to control everything from Mexico down to Chile, right? It used to be really tough. But at this point, Spain doesn't, they've spent all their money, their ships are breaking, falling apart. Spain mostly just has unemployment and sadness at this time, right? It's super weak. So at the end of the war, the Americans destroy the entire Spanish empire, and we get it all, baby. Yeah, it's our empire now. Okay, so that's number one. Spain loses its entire empire, okay? Number two, America gains empire for the first time. America gains empire for the first time. Okay, and we now control islands on the other side of the world. We now control islands next to us. We control Cuba. We control Puerto Rico. We control the Philippines, right? We still control Puerto Rico today. 100 years later, we still control Puerto Rico, right? We gave Cuba back. We gave the Philippines back eventually, right? But we're going to occupy Philippines for another 50 years. We're going to occupy Cuba for 50 more years. Yeah. Okay. Number three. Number one, Spanish Empire is gone. Number two, America now has an empire. Number three, Americans are forced to rethink what it means to be American. We're forced to rethink what it means to be American. For a long, long time, the United States had always been anti-empire. We've been against the kings and queens. We've been against empires, right? For a long time. And now we are. Americans are faced with this problem. Are we still the land of the free? Are we still the land of liberty if we are occupying the Philippines and occupying Cuba? Are we? I mean, I don't know. I can't answer that question for you, right? I can't answer that question, but it becomes this real problem, right? Because what happens when America doesn't live up to its myth, right? We have all these legends and myths about how we are truth and justice, the American way, and we are the, you know, we are the city on the hill that the world looks up to, that we are this shining democracy, but we seem to have a problem, okay? That's why the Spanish-American War, it's complicated and it's twisted. Okay, let's do big number L. Big number L. Big number L is going to be the Philippine Rebellion. In case you were confused about whether or not America is an empire, we have our very own colony that's trying to rebel against us. Here's the problem. Who did the fighting in the Philippines, mostly?
The Philippines.
Filipinos, right? People from Philippines are called Filipinos, right? The Filipinos did most of the fighting, and why did they do the fighting? Zarin, why did the Filipinos fight?
Because they thought that America was going to save them from the Spanish.
Exactly. They thought we were there to liberate them. They thought we were there to help them. At the end of the war, we put our flag on their capital. And we tell them, we're not here to liberate you. We're here to become your new masters. So the Philippines goes directly into a rebellion. 4 years of a nasty, nasty, bloody war. 4 more years. The Philippine Rebellion is going to kill something like 5 times as many people as the Spanish-American War. And it's led by this man right here, Emiliano Aguinaldo. Emiliano Aguinaldo is the Philippine rebel, and he's fighting against us. The Americans are going to call him a terrorist. The Filipinos call him a freedom fighter. Emiliano Aguinaldo. Now this war becomes super nasty because Americans don't know who's on our side. We don't know who's on our side. We don't know this Filipino guy or this Filipino guy. They both tell me that they're their friends. If I turn around, one of them is going to shoot me, right? We don't know who's who. We don't know what's going on. We don't know jack about the Philippines. In fact, most Americans have no idea that the Philippines even exists and don't even know where it is on a map, right? And we have no idea. And here we are occupying this place. So if you don't know who your enemy is, but you want to take over the land, what do?
Kill everyone.
Kill everyone kind of becomes the solution, right? This is a genocidal war. It's a war of genocide. What we do basically is we go into the city and we say, every person who wants to live and be American, get in the concentration camp. Everyone who's not in my concentration camp by tomorrow night is going to be killed. And then tomorrow night at sundown, I close the door on the concentration camp and I kill every single person I can find, everyone. If I find you outside of my camp, I assume you're a rebel and I kill you. The result is the US Army goes from town to town, killing like half of every town. Every single town across a nation of millions. Yeah, it causes all sorts of insane, this is an insane war. Now, here's the thing. What do you think the newspapers are going to say about this war? What would you expect? Based on what we've seen with these newspapers so far, what would you expect them to say? What's going to sell the most newspapers?
All over.
Philippine army up.
The what?
You go
Say it again.
first.
Oh, go, Aaron.
Oh, sorry, my internet acted weird, but I was just saying the news is probably going to say that the Filipinos are like terrible little terrorists that just don't want to confide, but America's there to help them.
Okay, that's actually pretty good. That's pretty good. Anytime that the news does talk about Emilio Aguinaldo, he's a terrorist, right? He's a terrorist, and all the Filipino rebels are also terrorists. Okay, what else, Sam?
I was gonna go on to the line that like also on that terrorist path of like that they're uprising and facing against America and that they don't want to be free.
Okay. Here's what the newspapers say. Mostly the newspapers say nothing. Nothing. They leave it blank. Why?
If not a lot of people know about the country, then a lot of people not a lot of people can know about the war, and sometimes it's better to keep things hidden.
They keep it hidden because Americans don't want to buy newspapers if we're the bad guys. We only want to read stories where we're the good guys. So the only time they ever publish stories is after the America wins a battle or something like that. They'll publish a brief story about how America defended itself against terrorists. But most of the time they say nothing. Pretty messed up, huh? Yeah. We have a pretty long history of having a really bad relationship with the media. We have a long history of this.
And I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
Is America the only country that had a problem with its media?
Not even close. Every country has this problem. Every single country. In fact, America's media is usually pretty good. Most of the world recognizes the American media, for the most part, is pretty good. Yeah, a lot of our news agencies are really very well respected. A lot of them are, right? But every country has problems like this. Yeah. Okay, let's do our last one here. Let's kill a president. Okay, we're going to assassinate President McKinley.
M.
Is it M?
Yeah.
Yes.
M.
M for McKinley. McKinley's assassination.
It finally worked.
There we go. Planned it, totally. All right, we're gonna kill President McKinley. All right, do you guys, Fernanda and Sam, do you remember what I told you McKinley was famous for doing?
Being killed.
He's famous for the Spanish-American War and being assassinated. So here we go. He's assassinated. He's up in Buffalo, New York. He's giving a speech in Buffalo, New York, and a dude comes out of the crowd with his hands in a bandage, and his hand has a little tiny gun underneath the bandages, and he reaches out like he's going to shake the president's hand and then shoots him. Okay? The assassin's name is right here, Leon Czolgosz. Leon Czolgosz. Leon Czolgosz is a Polish immigrant. He's a Polish immigrant, and he's upset that his name doesn't have enough vowels.
Really?
No, I'm just playing with you. No.
I'm like, what?
No, I'm just playing with you. No, but he is schizophrenic, and he believes that the angels are talking to him. And he believes that angels are talking to him, telling him to kill the president. Okay? Yeah. Yep. Czolgosz is also an anarchist. Do you guys know what anarchists believe? What
No government. No nothing.
Yeah. Anarchists believe that there should be no government and that it should all be destroyed, right? They believe that the entire world is just rich people hurting poor people, and so you should kill the rich people, essentially, right? Czolgosz is an anarchist, and anarchy in the United States at this time period is very, very popular. Czolgosz is in love with Emma Goldman. She's the leader of the anarchists. She's a Jewish immigrant, lives in New York, And she's like the leader of the whole anarchist movement. Go ahead and let that sink in for a moment. She's the leader of the anarchists, you know, a group that doesn't believe in leadership. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She has like a newspaper. She writes a lot of articles and stuff. And when Cholgus tried asking her out, she rejected him because she said, dude, you're freaking nuts. I have no interest in you. You are a crazy man. Right. And so Cholgus goes, kills the president to impress her. And so when they arrest him, they're like, what did you do? Why'd you do this? And he's like, I did it for Emma Goldman. I did it for Goldman. I did it for her to impress her. Right. They actually arrest her and put her on trial, and they find that she had nothing to do with the assassination, because she had nothing to do with it. It was literally like crazy man wanted her, and she rejected him, and he wouldn't accept that. Yeah. Okay. The only thing that you really need on this is anarchists are very, very popular in the world. In a period of 10 years, anarchists are going to assassinate 9 world leaders. They assassinate 9 world leaders, like the Tsar of Russia, the Kaiser of Germany, the leader of Austria. They assassinate leaders all over the world.
Wait,
Yeah.
how many world leaders?
9. Yeah, a bunch. Yeah. And mostly the anarchists don't really believe in anything. They mostly are just like kind of criminals. Like they just blow up a lot of things and kill a lot of people. They don't really, you have a few like Emma Goldman who like wrote a lot of articles and books and things, but most of them just end up being like crazy dudes who like to commit crimes. Yeah, mostly. Yeah. Okay, this is all we need for now. After McKinley dies, Teddy Roosevelt's going to become our new president. So we'll start next class period with Teddy Roosevelt. Cool? Do you guys have any questions or anything before I let you go? I'm going to stop recording now.